Okay, forget everything you think art history is supposed to be. When you and I took art history in college, most likely we sat in a dark room with a slideshow and a professor who had this like monotone voice and would put everybody to sleep. Spoiler alert, not the best way. So, art history kind of gets a bad reputation. However, it is the most fascinating subject to explore with kids. And the huge misconception is that they have to be older or it's, for a certain stage in the education process. No. I have never seen a kid who was 3 years old not love a Jackson Pollock exploration or not get completely drawn into a Georgia O'Keeffe, like looking up close at a flower project. There is no such thing as too young for art history if we approach it with this new perspective. So today I have a few kind of mindset shifts and a couple of tips that are going to make teaching art history so much more fun for you, so much more engaging for your kids, and it just might become everybody's favorite subject. So let's dive in. I'm Lotus, the founder of Art History Kids, and for the past 10 years, I've been exploring art history with kids. So I know what resonates and what doesn't connect, and today I want to share some really fun ideas with you. The first one is kids don't connect to facts. They connect to stories. They connect to people. So we have to kind of shift our mindset around the way we're judging a successful art exploration. It's not about who remembers the dates of pointillism. That doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It's about presenting the ideas in a way where kids get to understand the concept of pointillism. What was it all about? Why would somebody paint with tiny dots? And get interested in the story behind it. So when you introduce pop art, your kids might be like, oh my gosh, boring. We're going to paint soup cans. But when you tell your kids that Andy Warhol was obsessed with cats and he had 25 cats that were all named Sam, all of a sudden we're really interested in getting to know this Andy Warhol guy. He seems fascinating and we might be more interested in understanding, so what is pop art? Why did he paint all those soup cans? That one tiny shift in the way that we introduce a subject, not by this artist was, born in this country, these are the dates of their life, these are the significant contributions to the art movement. Instead, it's more about this is what this person was all about. This is their backstory. This is what makes them fascinating. That one switch in the way that you introduce the idea can open a door for curiosity, culture, and self-discovery that almost no other subject can. So this is the other thing to remember. When we're introducing art history ideas, we have an opportunity here because in a lot of other subjects, it is about memorizing facts and figures and dates and things like that. So kids have plenty of opportunity to use those skills. But in the art room, we have a rare opportunity to help kids learn what do they think, how do they feel, and really connect with themselves on a deeper level. There are very few subjects that do that, aside of maybe dance, music, art, and some kinds of creative writing. Not much else lets a kid connect to themselves in that way. So we have this powerful opportunity to use that. And the only way we can do that is when we approach the talking about the art, learning about it, and they're creating their own art in an open-ended way. I want this to be your official permission slip if you have needed one. If you felt like it was too daunting to explore art history in your classroom because maybe you just know about a couple of artists, but you don't feel confident enough to teach a lot of different artists, or you think that the foundational skills are really super important and enough time needs to be devoted to that before you can move on and start artist explorations, or maybe there's another reason. Whatever the reason is that's been kind of holding you back from exploring artists in your classroom, this is your permission slip that you can get started and be messy about it. It does not have to be perfect. You don't have to have all of the research done. You don't have to be an expert on that artist. You can always come back later, and you definitely should, because there's no way you can learn everything about Van Gogh or Matisse or Frida Kahlo in one sitting. There's just no way. Art scholars spend their whole lives studying these people, and they still have more to discover. So the The goal is not to teach kids every single thing about this one artist, to have everything in your slide presentation. It's to have one idea they can connect with, one age appropriate idea. So if it's in kindergarten or if it's in 12th grade, you're going to talk about different things with Picasso, but both ages can talk about Picasso. So that's the beauty of it, is that we're going to spiral around and around over the years, come back to these artists and learn more, just like we would in an art museum. We wouldn't probably go to an art museum, or at least I wouldn't, and try to see every single thing in the building. It would be overwhelming and it wouldn't be fun at all. It's so much more fun to choose, just a couple of things, spend your time and make it really intentional and meaningful. So that's how we're going to approach this. And that alone probably lifts a huge weight off your shoulders of thinking that this has to be a big research project, or you're not ready, or it's going to require a lot of prep. It doesn't have to be that way at all. So a few quick tips. Number one, start with a story. We talked about that a little bit, but starting with a storybook is great if there is one about that artist, or just find a really interesting fact about that artist and introduce them as a person first. Then you can talk in an open-ended way about their art, invite kids to really look at it before you explore any ideas with them. Let the conversation get silly. Let it go down rabbit trails. Like, don't try to confine it to the things that you think that they should talk about. Let kids really explore the art in their own way. Once you've learned a little bit about the artist and they've talked about the art, then you can share one or two things about that painting or sculpture, whatever it is you're looking at. And then instead of having them do like a replica of that work of art, or, a kid version, like the Monet water lilies that are on paper plates. I know that one is all over Pinterest, and a lot of teachers think, oh my gosh, parents are going to love seeing this come home with their kids. It's going to look really good. But here's the thing that kids miss out on when we do projects like that. That's just an exercise in them following directions. And what we really want to do is to invite them to connect to the creativity inside of them. So once we've learned about the artist and the art, they can identify one or two things that inspired them. Was it color? Was it the way that the artist used perspective? Was it just thinking about the world in a different way? Or maybe to us it seems completely unrelated, but to the child there's a connection there. Invite them to create art that's meaningful to them, even if it's not going to look perfect, even if it's not going to look identical and every single child's picture is going to look the same and it's a guaranteed good end result. Those projects don't help kids to develop their creativity or their confidence in art. And that's what we really want to do with that self-discovery goal that we talked about earlier. And so on the back end of that, instead of commenting on the end result when the project is finished, comment on the effort, comment on the process. Like, I saw how you were mixing colors in really creative ways to get that pink. Or I noticed how much detail you were putting into making this texture of the bunny's fur just right. Even if the project doesn't look like a perfect Pinterest project, that's okay, because what happened during the making of that project is so much more important and powerful, and it will set them up for so much more creative success later on. So the new way to teach art history to kids: forget about dates, forget about names, forget about memorization. It's all about story and connection. So there you have your permission slip to start messy and be imperfect about it. Make sure that kids feel some kind of connection to the artist, whatever that is for each individual artist. There's something amazing and different that connection could be. Explore the art in an open-ended way so that kids can really use their critical thinking skills. And then the growth mindset comes in when they do their open-ended art project. And then celebrate the process, celebrate the effort. Those are the things that really, really matter, way more than the end result looking perfect and everybody's being identical. So if you liked this video, and if you want to learn more about how to bring art history into your classroom in a sustainable and intentional way, be sure to subscribe, because I have so much coming up about different artists, art movements, techniques, all kinds of fun things you can do in the classroom to really nurture your kids' creativity. Because ultimately, that's the most important thing. That's the opportunity we have. And probably that's why you became an art teacher in the first place. So let's make it meaningful and let's make it beautiful in the way that it reflects each individual child. I'll be back with more videos soon. Until then, stay inspired.